the one.
I'll be streaming earlier tomorrow. Don't you worry. We got all into this shit. Oh. So, chat. Some interesting shit is going down. We haven't really talked about this in full, but so Variety is reporting that Warner Brothers, that was sold along with like HBO and HBO Max and everything like that, it is currently, it was sold to Netflix. Netflix bought it. And what happened is that Paramount, which is like a competing company that, they are interested in TV rights, or not necessarily TV rights, but movie rights and this and third, they're trying to buy Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers is pretty much up for sale. So Netflix had announced that it had acquired Warner Brothers in a $82.7 billion deal, bringing major franchises like The Big Bang Theory, Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings, Wizard of Oz to the DC universe and platform. Basically, the transaction was comprised of cash and stock. It was valued at $27.75 per WBD share. The company said it's kind of like when Elon bought X or bought Twitter, right? It says that puts the equity of the equity value of the deal at $72 billion, with the total enterprise approximately at $82.7 billion. Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers Film Studio, the streaming service, HBO Max, Warner Brothers Discovery, and move forward with previous planned spin-out of Discovery Global, which includes its massive portfolio of TV networks such as TNT and CNN. The deal means that the streaming giant Netflix has upended the media industry in recent years and blah, blah, blah. Now, let me tell you the big deal behind this. Essentially, Netflix, which used to be the alternate way of consuming content, because people used to go to the movies and people had cable TV, these days Netflix is competing with everybody. They're putting on fights that usually would go on Showtime or HBO. So they're putting on fights like, for example, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. They're competing with regular TV channels like TNT. WWE used to be on TNT. Now it's on Netflix, right? So they've been competing with all these motherfuckers, and essentially because they've been increasing subscribers, they've turned into a damn monopoly. They've always been competing with the movie theaters, where now these days, if you're dropping a movie, you put the movie, like, a movie don't stay in theater exclusively for more than, like, these days, more than like 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks and up on Netflix or up on, like, Hulu or something like that. So they buy out Warner Brothers, which, includes their film studio and their catalog. But then Paramount comes back around and they're like, whoa, you ain't about to just like fucking turn into Amazon on us, Netflix. They came with trying to have a hostile takeover bid to buy Warner Brothers. So they're offering a deal that's worth $108 billion. Now, how does this work? Essentially, even though the deal was supposedly nearing close or damn near close, because Warner Brothers was a publicly traded company, from what I know, they are beholden to their shareholder to get the highest price and the best offer to close on. And since Netflix came with a deal that supposedly was going to close, it was, pending closing, so it was going to close imminently. Paramount says, yo, we're going to give you more money, and it's on the CEOs and all the people who work for the company to actually consider the offer, because it would give more money to the shareholders. Paramount, Warner Brothers, let's see. So I'll read through it a little bit. Hollywood biggest players are competing for one of the most influential portfolios in entertainment, and the contest has entered a new phase. After losing out to Netflix in the bid for Warner Brothers Discovery Studio and the streaming assets of Paramount Skydance is returned with Paramount Skydance has returned with a hostile $30 per share offer, which means I think it was 21 that Netflix offered. So they would pay subscribers or shareholders $9 extra per share. The move challenges Netflix's existing $82 billion agreement and signals that Paramount isn't prepared to step aside. Paramount argues that the proposal is strategically and financially superior, claiming Netflix structure offers inferior and uncertain value and could expose WBD shareholders to lengthy regulatory delays. Netflix agreement to acquire it is still subject to scrutiny by the U.S. and overseas regulators, adding complexity to both bids. The portfolio actually includes HBO, HBO Max, cable network is CNN. Wow, they would own. Oh, Netflix would own CNN. Wow, CNN, TNT, True TV. Paramount's bid holdings include Paramount Pictures, CBS, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, and networks like Comedy Central and MTV. So the same company that owns MTV and Comedy Central would now own HBO, HBO Max, CNN, TNT, and True TV if they both combine. Paramount signaled, and by the way, this is if Paramount wins the bid. You know, Netflix right now does not, I believe, own a TV channel. Paramount also signaled that its intention to appeal to the WBD shareholders, policymakers, and regulators to support its offer. The approach supports suggests that the dispute could involve intensive negotiation, legal challenges, and competing regulatory arguments before the outcome is reached. To understand the scale of the competition, it's important to look at what Netflix has already attempted to acquire. Under this agreement, Netflix would gain control of Warner Brothers, the studios, HBO, and HBO Max streaming platforms. That includes some of Hollywood's most valuable franchises like Harry Potter, Batman, Game of Thrones, and White Lotus. It would place HBO, long considered benchmark for the prestigious television inside Netflix portfolio. Netflix once said it wanted to become the HBO before HBO becomes us. Ironically, they're now buying HBO. What happened to HBO Max remains unclear. Netflix could fold it into its main platform or operate it separately. That's their streaming platform, by the way. Meanwhile, WBD linear cable network, CNN and TNT, would spin off into independent companies. Oh, okay. All right, so they're not trying to run TV companies. So right now, Netflix is beefing with Paramount. I'm going to be honest with you. Netflix got too much money. And what's going to happen, this is all going to come down to regulatory challenges, which means Netflix is starting to dominate the entire market of TV advertisement, and such be the case if they're making these moves, and also digital streaming. So I would imagine that these regulatory challenges would say, hey, they're becoming a monopoly. We have a better thing for, the shareholders, also better thing for the company as well, because they might just buy the company and fold it. We're going to buy the company and keep these channels. So we'll see what happens, but it goes to show Netflix made the right decision. They've been saving their bread. Obviously, their subscribers is crazy, and they're ready to acquire TV. This is a big shift, if you ask me. So it's basically saying network television or linear television is done because they're getting bought up by the streaming companies. So we'll see who ends up with it, whether Paramount or Netflix, but Warner Brothers is going to get sold. If it ends up with Netflix, the monopoly's starting, if it's not started already. And if it ends up with Paramount, Paramount is going to just try to combine their catalog, which is Comedy Central, MTV, with the likes of HBO and HBO Max. So we'll see what happens, but, that should be like some interesting times. Okay. Chat, I am getting out of here for the night.